On today's episode, we have episode 2 of our team-by-team fantasy football previews where we go division by division to find each team's most relevant fantasy storylines. On episode 1 of our team-by-team previews, we covered the NFC East and North. Next up, we have the NFC South and West. I don't know why I chose East and North and South and West. I feel like I kind of missed a gimme there, but we're different here. We're taking a different angle on the Regression to the Mean podcast. Before we get into that, today's episode of the Regression to the Mean podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Best ball on Underdog Fantasy is the best and easiest way to play fantasy football. Just draft your team and that's it. No waivers, trades, or weekly start-sit decisions. Underdog will automatically play your best players at each position every week. Sign up today with promo code RTM, again, RTM, to receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. You can sign up for as little as $10 to start drafting today. Changing gears here, away from the NFC South to the NFC West. I'm seeing Aidan, who assigns all of our teams. Shout out Aidan Haller, our team assigner. We appreciate you. Aidan gave me the San Francisco 49ers. I think that was very kind of you, Aidan, to give me the 49ers, considering, I think about them every single day. And
a bit of a fan.
Yeah, a bit of a fan. And that was not hyperbole. I'm just in the shower randomly thinking about who is going to start for the 49ers at quarterback this season. And I feel like that's really the only place to start this whole entire discussion on the San Francisco 49ers. And what's so fascinating about Trey Lance and Brock Purdy, and I'm discounting Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's a backup. I'm already seeing reports that the Packers are interested in trading for Sam Darnold when he inevitably loses the quarterback competition. I don't think they will, but Sam Darnold I do not think is going to be named the starter next season. When I think between Trey Lance and Brock Purdy, what's really interesting is I did that quarterback breakout study of the last 10 years worth of ADP. And oddly enough, both Trey Lance and Brock Purdy fall into that projected breakout candidate for quarterback. And I'm defining a breakout as 4+ points per game versus their baseline points per game ADP round average. So if a 12th round guy on average at quarterback scores 14 points a game, I'm deeming that a breakout if they score 18 plus a game, right? So both of these guys will most likely be late round quarterbacks, so around 11 to 14. Both are 23 years old, and both will be playing in their first full year as a starter. So Brock Purdy's profile looks really similar to 2016 rookie Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is pretty much the only young breakout at quarterback that wasn't a first-round pick. But if you look at all the other breakouts of quarterbacks aged 22 to 24 who are drafted in the late rounds playing in their first, second, or third years or their first year as a starter, here is the list of first-round quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Blake Bortles, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, Justin Fields. And you also have Jalen Hurts as a second rounder, and you have Gardner Minshew and Dak Prescott, who are later round picks. So you're looking at this list, and I'm not saying Trey Lance is one of these guys, but he's a first-round quarterback playing in his first year as a starter, age 23 years old, going in the late rounds. He fits the profile. And ironically, so does Brock Purdy. And I've been thinking about this a lot because the 49ers are posturing that Brock Purdy is the unquestioned starter. And I understand where they're coming from considering how well he played last season. But it would be absolute malpractice to trade all of those draft picks for Trey Lance, pick him third, understanding that he is the rawest quarterback prospect in the past 2 or 3 years, and then only give him 4 starts. That is malpractice. You should be fired if you do that. I'm sorry. That is a terrible way to manage a football team. I understand you may have struck oil with Brock Purdy with the last pick in the draft, but I think there is a higher likelihood of Trey Lance being a long-term NFL star than Brock Purdy. I just do. And Brock Purdy's coming from an advantageous place because he played 4 years and has all those reps underneath him, knows how to play quarterback. Trey Lance doesn't, and he's never going to know unless they play him. And I think Kyle Shanahan knows that. I think Kyle Shanahan wants to play Trey Lance. And when the 2023 season starts, Trey Lance will be starting for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I don't know if he's going to keep the job all year, but I think he is going to start week 1.
Nice. I didn't know you were going to go that way.
I told you, I've been thinking about it a lot. But remember, you can't trust a word that these motherfuckers tell you. You cannot. Do you remember the Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon debacle? Like, They said Trey Sermon was the starter at the start of the season. It's like Elijah Mitchell is the starting running back. He's going to be the guy this season. The beat reporters are not that locked in. I understand Brock played really well. I respect Brock. Brock, like, I love him like a brother. That's my guy. If I saw Brock Purdy, I'd give him a bear hug. I love that guy. I fucking love that guy.
Brock looks like he could be like your cousin on your like sister side or something. Yeah.
He's the man. It's not about anti-Brock. It's like you drafted Trey. You got to play him. I'm sorry. And if he sucks, you go to Brock. But you have to play him. That is malpractice not to play Trey Lance. That's where I'm at. I think Trey Lance is going to start the season as the starting quarterback. I don't know if he finishes it.
I completely agree. I think it's malpractice not to give him a shot. Like, his overall skill set is far superior to Brock Purdy. But, like, will he ever learn how to be an NFL quarterback and stay healthy? I don't know. But
Maybe not.
But you have to figure that out. Like, I think we've kind of already seen like Brock Purdy's ceiling. And it's a pretty good game manager, like above average, maybe average quarterback play, like with his skill set. Like, I think we've literally seen his ceiling. We haven't seen Trey Lance's, and I do think it's much higher. So we'll see.
I went on a bit of a rant there. I can't see Keegan. Keegan's smiling. I thought you were frozen as a statue. I thought you were frozen there.
He's just locked in.
Aidan, I'm sorry. I am just dripping in sweat from that rant. That was intense. That was an intense one. Aidan, shifting gears here to one of my least favorite teams in all the NFL. Tell us about Pete Carroll's Seattle Seahawks and their fantasy prospects in 2023.
Yeah, so going from the quarterback controversy that is the 49ers, it's very clear in Seattle, which if you would have told me that last summer, wow, I would have called you insane. Yeah, Geno Smith going into 2023 feels like an awesome fantasy pick. I'm just going to start with the quarterback position. He's being priced around quarterback 12 or so, which is probably about where I'd put him. But he finished as QB5. This is going to be one of the most exciting offenses to watch. You look at the running backs. You've got Kenneth Walker and Sharp. You've got three exciting wide receivers in DK, Lockett, and JSN. I think like your safest pick is you just take Geno. You get exposure to the entire offense. You figure as long as he doesn't regress to his pre-Seattle days, this is going to be a really safe quarterback that scores a ton of points. So I love Geno this year. I think he's going to have a great year, and you can get him pretty late in drafts. The Kenneth Walker versus Sharp kind of debate is, I think, is really intriguing to look at. In his rookie year, he finished as the running back 18, about 13 and a half fantasy points per game. That was with, why am I blanking on his
Rashad
name?
Penny.
And that is with Rashad Penny playing for about the first half of the season. In terms of skill sets, they're very different. Kenneth Walker has that home run hitting ability that is going to keep him on the field early in the sticks. Sharp is more of your dual threat, probably more of a goal line running back too, which is going to give him work. But I think we're going to see Kenneth Walker get a crack at really taking the bulk of the touches early on in the season. And for that reason, I'm pretty high on him. So that's going to be a really fun backfield to target. I don't really know exactly how you want to target it. That's maybe one where you just scoop up both. I don't really know. Sharp isn't all that expensive given how much he could potentially work into the role. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe just have both of them, especially with Kenneth Walker's injury history. And then you'll get the wide receivers, which gets even more complicated as Lockett and DK pretty consistently finish in that wide receiver 2 range, right around wide receiver 12 to 24, which they did last year. Lockett was 13 and DK was 16. If I had to pick one this year, I'm probably going DK, given that I think JSN's skill set is very similar to Lockett. I think he's a much better athlete than Tyler Lockett, but all Tyler Lockett does is overexceed his ADP. It's year in and year out. We're pricing him around wide receiver 25, wide receiver 30. What does he do? Overexceeds it by 10 positions. So I don't really know how to do Lockett versus JSN. JSN's more of like my dynasty guy, best ball guy. Lockett, I'm probably taking those two formats too, whereas DK, I'd love to have in redraft. I think that's going to be a slam dunk. This is going to be a really fun offense. I think the best way into it is you get Geno Smith. In my opinion, the safest way to really get heavy exposure into this offense without really trying to get into the weeds of the running back and wide receiver rooms.
Agreed. I think Geno's a great quarterback pick, especially in redraft this year. If you don't get in on kind of the elite quarterbacks because their value is getting pushed up so high, as we've seen and talked about in our previous podcast, where the elite top 4 are going in the 3rd or 2nd round. somebody like Geno that's going to be on a high-flying offense, it's going to pass a ton, is going to be a great late redraft target for quarterbacks.
Keegan, tell us a little bit about the next team in the NFC West who has a offense that I would compare to like a burning building, like watching a burning building that where like firefighters are trying to save a kitten, maybe. Like it's going to be that tragic. Tell us a little bit about the Arizona Cardinals and my sweet, sweet prince, Rondale Moore. Tell us a little bit about the Arizona Cardinals, Keegan.
Sure. If I have to, I will.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll try.
What a great team to get assigned to talk about. But no, we're
My
here.
treat.
Yeah, my treat. There is not much to be excited about if you are an Arizona Cardinals fan or if you're just a Kyler Murray fan. I mean, things are pretty dark and grim for them. They're in the midst of what I believe it to be a massive rebuild. New head coaching staff. They've traded away a lot of players, acquired a lot of picks. DeAndre Hopkins is no longer a Cardinal, and Kyler Murray is still injured. Now, my take on Kyler Murray so far this season is I think he's becoming so cheap in best ball that he might actually – I've galaxy brained into thinking that he might be one of the best ball targets, especially in this weekly winners format, right? Think about where it's a weekly matchup and you're drafting for that. You take Kyler Murray at like pick 170 and you just stack your roster for weeks like 13 through 17, and all of a sudden Kyler Murray's playing healthy football again. This is a guy who on a points per game basis has been a top 11 quarterback in each of the past 4 years, and most of those being in like top 8. So when healthy, he is a great fantasy quarterback. Now, if I have to look at this full season, which we do, but we have to observe the Cardinals and we have to give some kind of take on them. It's James Conner again, right? I mean, this team is going to be so bad, and he's
What a playoff hero. 2022
Fuck James
playoff
Conner.
hero.
I hate that guy. That guy,
He's
eliminated me from multiple leagues in week 16. That guy hates me.
Dude, he's the best value workhorse running back again in fantasy. Only Austin Eckler has scored more touchdowns, 38, than James Conner, 26, has in the past 2 seasons. Only Austin Eckler has outscored James Conner in touchdowns the past 2 seasons. That is ridiculous.
That doesn't sound real, but I know it's real. But
Exactly.
He's scored
I know, but
so
I'm like,
many touchdowns.
I don't believe it.
His ADP right now is like RB28, pick 88, which is, I think, just free money for a running back, basically, at this point. And there's 2 other people I think you can target in this offense, and it's Rondale Moore and it's Marquise Brown. And I think if it's Colt McCoy playing, I actually don't think either of them are bad picks. Marquise, actually, I love Hollywood, but it's a little expensive to draft him where he's going if Kyler doesn't play the first 8 weeks or whatever. But Rondale is pretty cheap. And you know what I know about Colt McCoy at this point in his career? Doesn't like to hold on to the ball, doesn't like to get hit, and likes to get rid of it, which is perfect to Marquise's game and Rondale's game. So if you want a piece of the offense, you want somebody who's going to catch a lot of receptions in PPR format, Rondale Moore might be a pretty good pick this year. I think I might just drink enough of Shaun's Kool-Aid to say that, but if I'm going to find some kind of value in this offense, it's there. And if you think Kyler's going to be back sooner than what we think, then heck, some of these guys might be bargain bin players. And lastly, the last thing I'll say is I might stream players who play the Cardinals defense all year in redraft. Like I might make sure I have one player on my team, like starting on my team each week that's playing the Cardinals. I feel like that's just free points. They're going to be a terrible defense this year.
I'll be
So
prioritizing the defense and special teams playing the Cardinals
Also,
every week
that
as well.
exactly.
That will be on my waiver list every week.
One of my biggest flag plants in all of fantasy, Kyler Murray's not playing a game for the Cardinals next year. Flag plant. There we go. Clayton
think I'm
Tune,
with you
baby.
there.
Tune show. Looney Tunes.
Looney Tune.
I'm tuned up for Clayton Tune.
Okay, let's move off the Cardinals. I've had enough.
Come on, we're having fun.
Last team in our team-by-team preview that's going a little bit longer than the last one because, Aidan, you gave me the 49ers. That's your fault, not mine. The last one is the Los Angeles Rams. Whose house? Definitely not the Rams' house. They actually share it. It is also their house with the Chargers and whoever the opposing team is because they have no fans. Okay, so the major question here for the Los Angeles Rams, I'm not salty that they won a Super Bowl in this lifetime before the 49ers. I'm not at all. How healthy will Matthew Stafford be in 2023? Matthew Stafford is 35 years old. In 2021, he was an absolute smash at ADP. 2022, he was the worst pick in fantasy at quarterback last year. I'd say 20 fantasy points per game to 13. Like, that's atrocious. That's really bad. But reports out of the Rams camp is that Stafford's elbow looks great. Like, it's been nonstop positive buzz. Reports also indicate that Van Jefferson is moving well after, multiple knee surgeries. Cooper Kupp looks great. There's a lot of Cam Akers hype. But I think this team is really just going to go where Matthew Stafford takes them in terms of this offense. And what's kind of funny is this offense resembles the Detroit Lions teams that Stafford used to quarterback back in the day. He has an elite wide receiver, right? Calvin Johnson, Cooper Kupp, good play caller. It always felt like the Lions were running at a high pace, passing the shit out of the ball, calling good plays. And now they have Sean McVay doing that for the Rams. And the hallmark of the mid-2000s, 2010 Detroit Lions is a bad defense. And, oh, baby, the Rams defense. I would pay anyone who listens to this podcast $500 if they could name me 6+ Rams defensive players off the top of their head, because they can't. They can't. So I think that's going to create plenty of garbage time passing opportunity. I think they're going to be losing. I think the opposing team's going to take their foot off the gas. And then Matthew Stafford's going to go garbage time Matthew Stafford and kind of just will a cover. I think this team's going to cover a lot of games with Sean McVay, maybe win 6-7 games. And I think they're going to score a ton of points, but have a terrible defense. So that's kind of where I'm at. I know Cam Akers is a hot topic. Are you guys buying the Cam Akers buzz? Do you think he's contingent on Matthew Stafford being healthy? Because I kind of think everything in this offense contingent on Stafford being healthy.
No Cam Akers for me this year. Never been a fan.
Akers, actually. I like Cam Akers.
You like him, Aidan?
Yeah, I think to your point, though, it's very contingent on Matthew Stafford, who I'm actually not very in on. They've been trying to shop him all summer, and I think the reports of his elbow are kind of just to put a bow on a pile of poop. And so I'm actually not all that high.
Why do you say poop? Why do you say poop? Pile of peep.
On a pile of poop.
Peep.
Pile of poop.
You guys both do that. You guys are like little kids when you say poop. You like giggle. Like
it's a funny word, man. Try to say it.
I graduated from poop to shit when I was like 6 years old, and I just started calling him shit. I had a very short shelf life on just the word poop.
It's fun to say, though.
Poop is way funnier than
it's
shit.
pretty much Cooper Kupp or nothing for me. Like I'm not rostering Matthew Stafford unless it's best ball and I've already got Kupp. But I don't know. I might take Akers. Like, the worst part is like how well he finished the year. He like gave us the running back like we all thought he was going to be. And this year he'll probably just be like super average. We'll see though. These last two offenses are going to suck so much. So we'll see. Like the Rams and Cardinals, if you're overexposing yourself to these offenses, again, I'd love a spot in your league. Feel free to find me on Twitter.
Sean, if the Niners don't win this division, you might cease to exist.
Every other year we have a crazy amount of injuries occur. So, this is going to happen. It's going to be great. Yeah, but Seahawks, 49ers, fade the rest pretty much. Unless, Ron, you have Rondale Moore, 70% exposure in best ball. Shout out, Ron Dale. That will be our NFC South and West team-by-team previews. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into part 2. Stay tuned for part 3 dropping later in the week. We are so close to our first NFL Sunday. What are we, 63 days away?
Yeah, I think it's
7 Sundays?
Or was it 9? I think it's 9 Sundays. I saw something today, and I got pretty excited, yeah.
9 Sundays. All right, that'll be it. Keegan, anything to say for our listeners before we go?
Love you.